Hi everyone, it's April again, and this time I want to talk about my story with Crohn's disease. In June of 2018, I started getting sick. My intestines were a slip and slide. Every time I ate, I was in the bathroom in 5 to 10 minutes having diarrhea. Sometimes with a little bit of blood, but never an excessive amount. I had some nausea, but very little. It was manageable, and I was doing okay with that. But the symptom that caused me the most alarm was the fact that I lost 25 pounds between June and August of 2018. So I went to see my primary care doctor, and I explained what was going on, and I had lost this weight, and it was a big concern for me. And so she ordered blood work and stool samples and had the results of all of those tests sent to the gastroenterologist that I had chosen from my insurance plan. And that way, when I got to see the gastroenterologist for my first appointment, we already had that part done and we could move forward a lot faster. So fast forward, I go in to see the gastroenterologist, and she immediately schedules me for a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And that was done on August 30th, 2018. And just a little side note, when you do the prep for a colonoscopy, you do get a burnt bateau, and so what you can do is put Vaseline on your bottom, and it will keep you from getting a burnt bottom from the laxatives you have to take as a prep for a colonoscopy. That little bit's for free. So anyway, I had my colonoscopy and endoscopy done, and the next week my gastroenterologist called me and said, "You have Crohn's disease. I'm going to put you on steroids." I went and got my steroid prescription filled. I was happy to take it, and she said that would help get the inflammation down and inhibit my immune system so that my intestines could heal, and I would be on it for 6 to 7 weeks, and I was okay with that. But I did do some research. I wanted to know all about Crohn's disease, and so I found out about that. And then I decided to look at dietary changes I could make that would help my body not only heal from the inflammation in the Crohn's disease, but help me gain my weight back in a healthy way, because 25 pounds when you're 4 feet 8 is not a good idea. So I wanted to gain my weight back, but I wanted it to be healthy. And so I watched a lot of YouTube videos on that, and thank you for putting those out there. And I have been steadily gaining my weight back, so that's good. And so the next thing I had to look at were the drugs that the doctor said I could go on for long term once I came off of the prednisone, and I went, what would I do to manage my symptoms afterwards? So I went and researched those drugs, and the first set of drugs would be 5 ASAs. Lialda, Asacol, those drugs. They're 5 ASAs, and one of the potential side effects of 5 ASA drugs is pericarditis. Not good for me because I have heart disease. I have had 2 heart attacks, and I have 2 stents, and the type of heart disease I have, I cannot risk getting pericarditis on top of what I've already got. So the gastroenterologist agreed with me that was not an option. The next drug up this ladder would be biologics like Humira, Remicade, so on. And so I researched those drugs and found that many people that went on the biologics developed drug-induced lupus. And once they went off the drug, the lupus resolved itself and went away. However, I have 2 very close blood relatives who passed away from complications of lupus. So I have a genetic marker for lupus, and if it's going to be a potential side effect, it could activate and not go away because of my genetic marker. So the biologics, again, not an option. And my GI doctor agreed it was not an option. The risk is too high. And so the next step up in the pharmaceutical world would be chemotherapy drugs like 6-MP and other ones like that. But my GI doctor said that that's a very strong drug for someone with as mild a case of Crohn's disease as I have. Once I went off the prednisone, I was managing everything with my diet, and I was doing fine. I had no inflammation. My inflammation markers in my blood work were way low. Everything was looking good, so I was doing fine managing it with my diet, which, by the way, I listed in my previous video in the description box. You can go and look at those dietary changes I made there. The one really good thing about being diagnosed with Crohn's disease that made me so happy was 11 years ago I had a diaphragmatic hernia and I had to have it repaired, and during that surgery I had what's called a Nissen procedure done to narrow the bottom of my esophagus because I have a birth defect where I don't have the sphincter muscle at the bottom of my esophagus. So they did the Nissen procedure. I'll let you look that up on your own. And they did it too tightly. And so for 11 years, I've been eating mush. I have a difficult time swallowing food and getting it through the very, very narrow opening left from this Nissen procedure. And I've been begging them to reverse it because it's too tight and I can't eat. I am just not doing well with this. But they didn't have a diagnosis that would cover the surgery to reverse the Nissen procedure. Therefore, Crohn's disease, ding, 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 we have a winner. I now have a diagnosis that will let me have my Nissen procedure reversed. And I was so excited about this. So I talked to the surgeon, and he said, yes, I can do this for you. It's no problem at all. And I also told him that I've been having mild chronic appendicitis symptoms for about 1.5 years, and while he was already in my abdomen, could he take my appendix out while he's in there? And he said, sure, because I explained to him with inflammatory bowel disease, because we have so much gut pain anyway, that an appendicitis isn't necessarily something we recognize as a different type of pain. And many of you have said your appendix ruptured and it causes all kinds of problems when that happens. And so he agreed. I had 2 reasons that made sense, or perfectly good common sense, to take my appendix out. And when he sent it for pathology, it did show that I had a mild chronic appendicitis. So I was correct. And so I had the surgery, and shortly after that, about 1.5 weeks after surgery, I did have a small flare of my Crohn's disease. I went to the emergency room thinking something had gone wrong with the surgery on my stomach, where I had the Nissen procedure reversed, that I'd sprung a leak. And so I called my surgeon. He said go to the emergency room, and he would call and request that they do a double contrast CAT scan. One would be a contrast that I drink, which would show my entire digestive tract on the CAT scan. And the other one was an IV contrast, which I don't know why they were doing that, but they do that. So anyway, that CAT scan showed a very mild inflammation in my descending colon. It's a very small place of inflammation, and it was very mild. And so they gave me a prescription for 2 different antibiotics, which I chose not to fill, and sent me home. But while I was in the ER, wham, got hit with diarrhea. Oh my goodness, it was so bad. The cramping was so bad, I couldn't walk to the bathroom. My husband grabbed one arm, the nurse grabbed the other arm, and I was just standing there hollering in pain. And they sat me down on the end of the gurney in my exam room, and I passed out. But I pass out often when I have digestive issues, whether it's nausea or cramping from diarrhea or whatever. I pass out. It's been happening for several years, and it's something I'm used to, so I wasn't particularly alarmed by that. And I did have diarrhea, oh my gosh, and had to use a bedpan. It was awful. So once I got that out of my system, I had my CAT scan, and showed that small amount of inflammation, and again, it wasn't enough to keep me overnight or anything like that, and they sent me home. And I went in the next morning to see my PCP. I'd already scheduled a physical for that day, and so I went in to see her and had everything done, vitamin and mineral level check to make sure that my malnourishment is coming back up, that I'm doing everything I can to get healthy with my eating. I'm not having any diarrhea. I'm not having any nausea. I am in remission. I'm doing well. 3 months after diagnosis, I'm managing it with my diet and a good attitude. And I chose to use my diagnosis with Crohn's disease as a platform to bring joy and happiness to all of the medical professionals that have dedicated their lives to treating us when we're sick, and telling them how much I appreciate what they do. If you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you're a physician's assistant, thank you for what you do in taking care of us, because it means a lot to us. And I choose to walk into an ER, and even though I'm not feeling well, try to make them laugh, try to make them smile, just be a positive influence on them, just like I want to be a positive in your life by bringing you these videos. And if this video has been helpful to you, I'm glad. If you want to leave a comment, if you want to subscribe, I've got other videos I want to put up on my channel. And I thank you for your time. I hope you have a great day. God bless, and don't forget to laugh.